Hello everyone. Just before the video starts, I just want to give a quick shout out to Kaiju Manic. She helped me out on Discord on helping me find the reference photos of Kong 2017's full body. And yeah, she really helped out with that. Even though I actually requested her, but she helped out with it regardless. So do me a favor and please go and subscribe to her YouTube channel or follow her on Instagram. They'll be right here on the screen. And yeah, that's it. Enjoy the video. Hello everyone, I am back once again. Yes, I have a very iffy schedule. This time with a review on the Hiya Toys Exquisite Basic Kong Skull Island Kong. So here we are. There he is. There's all of his accessories. Now before we move on to the figure, let's take a look at the packaging. Very different from the usual Hiya Toys packaging where it's very glossy. It has a very... I don't know if you're able to... How am I supposed to be able to describe the texture? But it's very glossy. And as you can see, there is a shine to it. There is a Kong logo there. You get a figure of Kong himself. On the other side, we got a picture of Kong. Same with the other side. On the top, Kong Skull Island may be only used with film. I don't even know what that means. Same on the bottom. And on the back, we get some legalese and a picture of Kong over there. But yeah, it's a very glossy packaging. If I had to describe it, it's very smooth in comparison to the other ones. Like the Godzilla one, it's very flat. So, yeah, that's the box. Now let's talk about this figure. Ignore the Namor figure at the back. He's there because I'm actually going to do a little modification with him. And that's just gluing all of his little ornament accessories. But anyways, so brief overview. This Kong figure, I think everyone has been kind of wanting a version of Kong from Kong Skull Island. Considering he was the second MonsterVerse movie that barely even got that much merch. I mean, you do have the Playmates figures, and you do have the old Lanyard figures, but this is a completely different figure. This is a figure I think everyone wanted. And yeah, they revealed it around, I don't know, 2022, I believe? Hold on. Excuse me. But yeah, it was in development, and it was released. I didn't really know what was the early reactions, but I think everyone was saying it was an improvement over the original Kong from Godzilla vs. Kong, saying there's a lot more articulation with this one, so there was that. But where do my thoughts lie in this? Well, what I didn't really care for this figure too much. I saw it on Amazon. I was thinking about getting it, but I wasn't like entirely excited too much. Then I rewatched Kong Skull Island, and I was like, yeah, I may as well get it. It's a very cool Kong, and I do like this interpretation of Kong very well. So I got it, and I opened it for my birthday. Now, of course, the main point of contention is the likeness, which is the main complaint I'm hearing. So, yeah, with that being said, is this figure worth buying despite the inaccurate likeness and the inaccurate sculpt, or is this figure actually pretty underrated? Well, I am going to explain that with this review, starting off with the painting and the sculpting of this figure. So let's do that. All right, so let's talk about the painting and the sculpting of this figure. I think the painting and the sculpting of this figure is actually pretty good. Mainly in terms of like a general sculpt, it's very nicely well done. Starting off with the head, it's incredibly nice. Looks very much like Kong. I love the little somewhat beard detail, but I overall love the sculpt. You could see his orange eyes. It's very nicely well done, and you can see, of course, his teeth. Very nicely well painted. And even better for the eyes, they are not derpy. They're also very glossy, which is very nice. I like the brown fur texture. It's very good. I'd say probably on the same level as the Monster Arts. I don't have the Hiya Kong for comparison. So, yeah, this will have to do. Again, I love the sculpt work on this. I love the dry brushing of brown and the subtle shades of brown. And overall, it's a very nicely well done sculpt. Again, look at the fur. It's very seamless and overall looks very nice. And it has like also this wet feel to it. Maybe it's because there's so much gloss on this figure, but overall, it looks very nice. Sorry, I have to get this figure out of just to repose him. But yes, very nicely well done. Very nicely well sculpted. Nice dry brushing indeed, especially on his fur textures. And I do love the little creases and such there. Moving on to the chest and the torso, very nicely well done as well. However, you can see his pecs and the scar. However, this is more a problem with articulation. It's not properly lined, and it is a bit of a bummer, it is. And especially if you move it up, there is a nice detail, the fact that it still continues, but it looks very disjointed. And while I will admit it is very nice. He feels a little bit, it is very nicely well sculpted. He feels a little bit fat. There's no waist here. There's no sculpt here to simulate a waist. And his shoulders are so sunken in compared to what they are in the original film, which I will show a picture up on screen here. As you can tell, this guy is very different. His head, I don't think there's too many differences other than he looks more oval shaped. And while again the colors are very nice, I don't remember him being this dark brown like he was in this figure. I think again the most notable thing is his shoulders and his torso. His torso is just, there's no essence of a waist, which makes the monkey bum very much kind of wasted, as it doesn't, again, there's no waist. So it feels like, it doesn't even feel like the monkey bum is there. And going again back to the original design in the movie, his shoulders are very sunken in. They don't go fully downward as much as most. And it's a bit of a bummer in that regard. I don't know why they couldn't get this one right. I don't know. I really don't know. But overall, despite the inaccuracies, again, the sunken shoulders when Kong in 2017, when Kong and Kong Skull Island was very broad, he wasn't very fat looking. Overall, other than that, it's still a very good sculpt. And again, nice monkey toes, and the sculpt overall is very good. Nicely highlighted here. But excuse me. Hold on, give me a moment. Sorry about that. A very nasty warning I'll probably put there in the video. But, yes, it's still very inaccurate. But it's still very good, despite the inaccuracies. It's very nicely well done. Now, another thing to mention before I move on to accessories is the fact that I think a good amount of this figure is full of rubber parts. His toes, rubber. His ankle, his hands are rubbery. Even the ball joints are rubbery, and so is his head too, which is very nice when it comes to swapping parts. So, let's talk about the accessories then. Kong comes with a very good array of accessories. Again, very nice amount here, very good amount. The only problem is I wish he had more splayed hands, like very splayed hands. But overall, it's very good. He does come with, again, fisted hands, which go onto the figure. They're very nicely well painted and very nicely well sculpted. Nothing too much to really talk about other than they're very nicely well done. I accidentally messed this up. But he does have those. And to simply swap the hands, you might need a hairdryer for this. But since the figure's accessories are rubbery, including these these alternate hands, it makes it very easy. Just simply pull this out, grab one of the alternate hands, and then you could just simply pop it in. And I will show some photos of what the hands look like. But yes, they're very nicely well done. He does, of course, have a pair of gripping hands, which I'm going to show on screen here. And these are meant to hold the tree branch or tree bat accessory that he had against the fight with the skull crawler. And again, because they're rubbery, you can essentially adjust it to your liking. And talking about the tree branch over here, it's very nicely well sculpted. A lot of green onto it. My only gripe is this part here. I don't remember if this was in the film, like, at all. So there is that. And I don't really care for the spikier look, because while it is very easy to get this guy holding the thing, the problem, and I'm going to move my chair for a bit, the problem is the fact that it just is so rubbery. Well, there's so many spikes here that it's kind of difficult to put it on. But it is malleable, in a sense. And yeah, you can make it look like he's from The Wizard of Oz. That's really my main problem with this tree accessory. It looks more like a witch's broom rather than a tree branch. Or just a tree. But overall, it's very cool. And then, of course, the last pair of accessories. I'm going to go off camera for a bit. And it's just a pair of knuckle walking hands. Again, very nicely well sculpted too. Might put the light over here just for measure. Again, very nicely well sculpted. But it's very simple. Again, you just pop it in. And you can get this guy into a quadruped pose. If that's how you call it. I don't know how to call it. And then, of course, as I go off camera for a bit, here is the alternate head, which is very nicely well done. I love the roaring expression. I don't think the eyes are derpied at all. And overall, it's very nice. Although I feel like the mouth or the jaw should have been opening a lot wider. And as mentioned before, he does have this alternate head that, as one reviewer mentioned from Shinrob Jira, it would have been nice if he just didn't have a gritting teeth head and just had a normal, calm, but still kind of pissed off head. Because in the movie, he had two expressions. Either his lips were closed and he looked pretty pissed, or he had the alternate, he was roaring. So to switch it again, use a hairdryer for caution. But since it's rubbery, there's not too much worry. You simply pop it off, and then you simply plug the head in. You might hear a click. Overall, it looks awesome. It's very nice. This is how I displayed him on my shelf. Very badass looking figure as a whole because of that. And it's very nice. It adds a lot of expression. So overall, I think the accessories, while I do wish he came with a little bit more, like maybe a boat propeller, like it wasn't like in the movie, or again, an alternate hand, maybe some more alternate hands, or even more an alternate head where he's like just calm, pissed. I do think the array of accessories is really good for a Kong figure. But yeah, other than that, let's talk about now this guy's articulation. Kong's articulation is pretty good. You can get some good poses, but it is very limited. That's my spoiler alert for that. So, what do I mean? Well, let's go and break it down.
Break it down for you, Mark.
He does have a ball joint at the head and a ball joint at the neck too. So he can look up about this far, and he can look down not really a lot. He can look side to side though, and of course you can just swivel that whole thing around. The neck, of course, moves, but I honestly don't know if there's a lot more movement with that. There is a butterfly joint system here, but it doesn't work like your average butterfly joint with, let's say, Marvel Legends. Simply, you have to kind of push it in order for it to work, which is a bit weird. And I don't really think this system really works very well. He, of course, has a swivel at the arm and a bicep swivel as well. Of course, he can go in and out. It looks like there's a single jointed elbow, a double jointed elbow. In reality, I think it's just a single jointed elbow. Only goes up to about 90. And of course, as mentioned, there is a ball joint at the hand. He does have a torso articulation, but it is pretty pointless. Swivel over here. Not that much arcing back. Arcing forward and arcing. Well, there's a lot of arcing back, but not a lot of arcing forward. And there is tilting motion, but not a lot. Another thing that really surprised me too was the fact, or these hip joints. They are drop down hips. So he only could kick up about, not a lot without them, but if you include the drop down hips, he can kick up about this far, kick up about that far, has a good spread. There is probably no thigh swivel. I mean, this counts, I guess, but that's just the ball joint on the leg. Double jointed knees and ankle ball joints with no pivot. So yeah, again, posability. You can get some good poses with him, but he's overall really limited when it comes to poses. You only just have, you do have these, which again, I think these are meant for the tree branch rather than the anything else. These are just meant for him to be like dual wielding it. But yeah, overall, again, you can get some good poses, but not a lot because of the limitations, and especially because of these ankles. Like, these things are limiting. They could barely pivot. It's just a ball joint, essentially. So yeah, overall, very nicely well done articulation. So let's go over the size comparison. For size comparisons, Kong stands at almost 6 inches from the tip of this ruler. Honestly, I might change this to a regular tape measure, but yeah, he's almost 6 inches, maybe 5.5, almost 5.5. But yeah, there he is. And for some other comparison, here is Kong compared to other Playmates Kongs, that being the Playmates Godzilla vs. Kong Hong Kong Battle Kong. That is a tongue twister. And also the Playmates Godzilla X Kong, the New Empire Kong with Beast Glove. So yeah, he scales pretty decently with them, although, if you really think about it, this is technically wrong, as according to this little size graph, Kong is pretty small. He's very small. And I probably will do another comparison as well with Zuko to show you how inaccurate the scaling is, but in that comparison. But yeah, if you want him as just a generic ape, he scales pretty well. He's still pretty small, and he scales, again, pretty well with your average apes. He's very average enough to just be one of Scar King's little great apes. But yeah, there's that. Here is the Hiya Toys Kong from Kong Skull Island compared to the SH Monster Arts Kong from Godzilla vs. Kong. This is technically the Entertainment Earth / the San Diego Comic-Con exclusive. And the Playmates Godzilla X Kong Suko figure that came with a Suko and Doug. Yeah, as I mentioned before, this is technically inaccurate between these two, as Kong and Godzilla, technically Suko was taller than this Kong. So, yeah, but then he's smaller than this Kong. So, the scaling is wrong, but in the end, it doesn't really matter because it is cool that we have, again, a good Kong figure from Kong Skull Island. And as for some other comparisons, we're almost done the comparisons. Just 2 more to go, I guess, or 3 more to go. This is the 3rd one. Here he is. Here is the Kong 2017 figure compared to the Hiya Toys Godzilla vs. Kong, almost said X Kong, Godzilla vs. Kong Skullcrawler, number 10. Why not? Why don't you have the one from Kong Skull Island? Well, that's because I didn't get him. I do have this one. Hopefully, they actually do upgrade the new Godzilla vs. Kong. Never mind, not the Godzilla vs. Kong. The Kong Skull Island Skullcrawler with this guy's engineering, because this guy is absolutely an improvement, even though I don't even own that Skullcrawler. And as again, for the second to the last comparison, here is Kong compared to a couple of Godzillas. I have the SH Monster Arts Godzilla 2019 and the Hiya Toys Godzilla 2019. Honestly, they both scale really well. As usually Kong is meant to be shorter, and overall it scales very well with them. Very nice. And then for one last comparison, here is Kong next to your average 6-inch scale figure. We have the Marvel Legends Black Panther to Namor. I know I could have gotten the What If Zombie Cap, but currently he's in my glass shelf and I don't want to get him out. But yeah, overall, very good scale. He scales very well with Godzilla's if you want this version of Kong instead of the Kong Entertainment Earth version. Or the, not Entertainment Earth version, the Godzilla vs. Kong figure. It scales very nicely, but there are some other differences. Again, you can use this as just your generic grade ape that you would see in GXK. But yeah, overall, really good scaling. So let's move on to my final thoughts. So, for my final thoughts, is this figure worth buying, especially since Amazon seems to have this in stock, and it's probably the only Hiya figure I've seen in stock besides pre-evolved Godzilla? I'd say, yeah, it is. However, I wouldn't get my hopes up. Again, the figure is really good, and as I mentioned before, there are some parts where it is an upgrade compared to the original Kong from Godzilla vs. Kong. I don't own that figure, but I do believe this is a lot better. The head sculpts are a lot better. The sort of bits and pieces of articulation, like the fact there's more range on the arms, the somewhat butterfly joints, and I put that in quotations. The drop-down hips, the double-jointed knees, it's really good. Now, again, I don't have that Kong, so I can't really say too much. But overall, I really love what I see here. I love the paint, and I love the detail. No excessive dry brushing. Just a good amount of dry brushing. But, there are problems with this figure, as mentioned before. The articulation, while there are some nice changes, some of it I still think is bit of a problem. And he can't spin. Maybe I need to get rid of the box. Yes, there are problems with this figure. The articulation is good. I don't think the butterfly joint system is very good at all. I think it's actually a lot more limiting. And worse, I actually think the ankle articulation is the worst part of the articulation aspect of the figure. It could barely pivot, as you can see in this little photo. It could barely pivot. So there's that. That's one. Two, and this is the most main point of contention and why I think you should probably not buy this immediately, and that's the likeness. The likeness is a very the likeness is the main problem. If you want a screen accurate, articulated version of Kong from Kong Skull Island, this figure may not be it, because it is incredibly inaccurate to what the film showed in the design was shown in the movie. He was very slim, he was very muscular. The shoulders, and then, of course, the main point of contention that I mainly find with this Kong is his shoulders are more sunken in. When you compare it to Kong from the actual movie, Kong's shoulders were broad, they were wide, and they looked proportionate. Here, they look sunken in, they look slouched, they don't look very good. So, yeah. Again, I say, just if you really, really want this guy, I'd say, yeah, get it. Like, if you don't have a Kong figure, but I'd say, even if you do want a Kong 2017 figure, I feel like there might be a 2.0 sometime in the future where they give him a new body and everything like that. That's what they did with Kong 2024. They didn't just repaint that old Kong from their Godzilla vs. Kong line. They made a brand new sculpt and everything like that. So that's why I'm saying maybe it's best to wait for a sale on this guy. If you really want him to customize, get him. If you want to buy it just because for him to scale with your other Godzillas, that's fine. But if you really want an accurate version of this Kong, I suggest you wait until there's, again, a 2.0 or some sort of upgrade or something like that. So yeah, overall, unfortunately, I have to probably give this guy a 7.5 out of 10. It's a great figure. I have a lot of fun with it. But the flaws mentioned is a bit concerning. And I do think if you again, it's best to wait for a sale. And even more, it's best to probably wait till there's a 2.0. Because what Hiya has been doing, they just keep upping themselves each time. So yeah, just either wait for a sale or or even more, just wait till there's a 2.0. So yeah, there's that. That is my review. Thanks for watching. Like, subscribe, hit the bell, comment on how this video was, and just comment in general. I know this part of the video, the final thoughts, it's a bit scattered because I filmed it the next day and I sort of just forgot everything because I forgot what I said in the other recordings because of school and everything. So you might see few more edits about what I said. But yeah, and of course, my main goal is to get to 1,000 subscribers before the end of the year. If that happens, I might do a video. Who knows? I might do something. But until then, I will see you guys next time on whatever video it will be. So I'll see you guys next time. Bye-bye.